What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Hoops and Stuff podcast. I'm your host, Isaac, and today we're going to continue our series from last episode. If you didn't see that, go check it out. But basically, we started a series last episode where we talk about each division in in both the conferences. So, like I said, there's more details to the series in episode 14 if you want to go check that out after this video. But today we're going to be talking about the Central Division. The first team in the Central Division to talk about is the Bulls. They could lose a solid piece to their team in Nikola Vucevic, in free agency. He's been a solid player since he's went to the Bulls. He's played with them for a few years now, and he's been a solid player. I'm pretty sure he made an all-star game while he was on the Bulls. So if they lose him in free agency, they're definitely going to have to find somebody to replace him with equal talent if they want to stay at that same level that they're playing at right now. Another player that I really like from the Bulls, besides Vucevic, is Patrick Williams, who he has great potential. He's still really young, and a lot of people really like Patrick Williams. He's a great player, but he definitely needs to develop a lot more, and I hope to see him get better than he is right now. He's a pretty solid role player, I'd say, right now, but he definitely needs to develop some more. Another question for me is, has Zach LaVine reached his peak? Because, we haven't really seen Zach LaVine get much better than he has been for the last couple of years. He's really just maintained that solid starter role for the Bulls. He's like the team leader, I'd say. Maybe between him and DeMar DeRozan, they're both the team leaders. But Zach LaVine, he's probably mid-20s maybe. Zach LaVine's probably 25 if I had to guess. So he's still pretty young, I guess, but he's not super old. But for basketball, super old is 35. Zach LaVine's 28. So he's getting pretty up there. He's about the same age as somebody like Anthony Davis. So we could see him max out at where he is right now, which, he's a solid player right now. I'm not saying anything, I'm not saying he's bad or anything, just definitely hasn't been, the best player of all time, obviously. For the Bulls, like I was saying, DeMar DeRozan could be, their team leader, but for DeMar, my question is how much longer is he going to play? Because, DeMar isn't too old, but DeMar DeRozan's played for quite a bit. He's 33, and a lot of players start to retire around the mid to late 30s, so 36, 37, 38. So he might have 4 or 5 more years, but he's probably going to start regressing soon. He isn't going to be as good as he is right now for sure within the next couple of years. Definitely don't think he will be I'm sure he'll be averaging under 10 points within the next 2 years. He's a great player right now. He's been a great player for a long time, but he just definitely is probably going to retire within the next 5-ish years, I'd say. And another player that really contributes to the Bulls is Lonzo Ball, but we do see Alonzo struggle with a lot of injuries, and so we don't know if he is going to stay healthy or even play again. I heard some stuff about Lonzo maybe just stop playing basketball and not coming back to the game at all, which would be bad for him. But and the Bulls, I'd say, because he's a solid player for them, but he just gets hurt too often. Our next team is the Bucks, and what a shocking first round exit to the Heat for the Bucks. That is just it's so crazy to me how the Heat eliminated the first seeded Bucks in the first round of the playoffs. The Bucks looked so good too, and then they just got them right out of the playoffs. First round, that's so crazy. And I mean, they both teams had major injuries. Heat lost Tyler Hero. Bucks had Giannis out for a couple games, but still, it's so shocking that a team that good is already like eliminated in the first round. And like connecting to that, I'd say since they were coming off that first round upset, I think maybe possibly Giannis could come back even stronger than he already is, and just like Giannis is already a great player. There's no doubt Giannis is top three player in the league right now, probably top two, maybe the best player in the league. Giannis is one of the greatest players in the league right now. But I think that he could be better than he already is just because he has that anger from that first round upset. And he has that, like, he wants to get back. And he just wants to play and win that. He wants to win the championship. That's what every player wants to do. They want to win a championship. But for Giannis coming off that first round upset, he's going to be really furious. Another problem that I'd say the Bucks have is, will Chris Middleton stay? Because I mean, yeah, Chris Middleton probably he's got the ring with the Bucks, and I'd say yeah, if I were him, I would probably want to stay. I have one of the best players in the league on my team, but like Giannis is, like I just said, Giannis is one of the greatest players in the league. Why would you want to leave a team with Giannis? Giannis is a great player. Like Chris Middleton could probably win another ring next year if he just stays with the Bucks, because the Bucks, they're gonna do what they gotta do to improve. And depending on what Middleton wants to do, probably what offers he gets, I would say he should stay with the Bucks. But the Bucks are definitely gonna have to figure out something if he does not stay, because he is in free agency this year. So they definitely got to do something about that. They also hired the Raptors assistant coach, so they fired Mike Budenholzer a couple weeks ago now, I think. And I mean, he was a great coach for them, but you can't come off of you have to be the first seed. You can't come off of a first seed first round and get eliminated by the 8th seed. Like, that's just crazy. And one more final thing, I'd say that the Bucks should probably draft a shooting guard in this draft. I mean, they have Jrue Holiday at their point guard. I mean, they don't really have a solid shooting guard. I mean, they have Grayson Allen, he's all right, but the Bucks should probably draft a shooting guard in this draft. Next up is the Pistons. They are a very young team. They have players like Cade Cunningham, Jaden Ivey, Jalen Duren. You have James Wiseman, who they just traded for. You have Isaiah Stewart. So a ton of young players. And 3 of those players being big guys, Jalen Duren, James Wiseman, and Isaiah Stewart. All 3 are power forwards or centers. And then you have a couple guards like Jaden Ivey and Cade Cunningham. They're a high potential team. I'm not gonna say they're really good because they're not good at all. They're they're not a good team right now. But I think that within the next few years, they could be there. They do have a really high pick this year. They had the 5th pick, so I think that they should definitely go for a small forward with this pick, because right now they have like Bogdanovich at their small forward, who, I mean, he's decent, but he's getting older, and their team is pretty young, so they should stick to that young theme, I'd say. I think that the comparisons between like Jaden Ivey and like young Derrick Rose or like a John Morant, I think that those comparisons are really like interesting. I really like Jaden Ivey. I've liked him since like the drill, like since he got drafted. He's looked like a really good player so far. Looks he definitely looks like he could be really good. I mean, you're getting comparisons to Derrick Rose and John Morant. I mean, we have also seen a lot of really bad comparisons. Like when Andrew Wiggins was drafted, people were trying to compare him to Kobe Bryant. I mean, just some predictions are just like, or some comparisons are just a little wild. But I think that this one could be like, it could be it could be true because like, I mean, Jaden Ivey plays just like those players. Like he's a high flyer, and that's what a lot of people like to see. They like to see these high flyers, these people doing crazy dunks or shooting like really deep shots. I mean, Jaden Ivey is that amazing dunker, or like even another guard that does that is like not Derrick Rose, Donovan Mitchell. Donovan Mitchell does a lot of like crazy dunks too. I think that this Pistons team just needs time to develop, and they could be one of the top teams in the league. They have, like I said, they have a tremendous amount of potential. They have players like Cade Cunningham, who was their first overall pick, and James Wiseman, who was the third overall pick, and with like LaMelo Ball, Anthony Edwards, but obviously they just traded for him. Jaden Ivey, who was like the fourth pick. I mean, just a couple of high picked players who definitely have potential and could be that they could be those players to carry the team to a good playoff run, if not the finals, maybe win a championship. And like connecting to that, I'd say like in a couple of years they're gonna have multiple phenomenal players, but who is gonna be their best player in those next couple of years? Will it be Cade Cunningham? Will it be Jaden Ivey? Will they draft somebody this year who is gonna be their next best player? I mean, it's really hard to predict who's gonna be their best player because they have another high pick in this draft, and they could draft somebody who's going to be the next LeBron James. I mean, obviously there's nobody that's going to be comparable to like LeBron James because LeBron James is one of the best players of all time. But that was just as an example off the top of my head. Like they could draft somebody who was better than anybody else on that team. You never know what could happen. The next team in this division is the Pacers. And for the Pacers, Tyrese Halliburton has definitely improved them a lot. After being traded there from the Kings as part of that Sabonis and Buddy Hield trade, he's definitely improved himself a lot and improved the team a lot. Definitely made them a lot better, I'd say. And he just makes them an exciting team to watch. They're decent. They're a decent team. I wouldn't say they're good, but they're decent. Like a team I'd say is like good is like the Cavs. The Cavs or like the Knicks, like those are like good teams. But like the the Pacers are like a mid-level team, probably like a play-in. Like that's what kind of like competition they give you. They're like a play-in type of team. And speaking of the play-in, could they make the play-in next year? Is my question because I mean Tyrese Halliburton is most likely going to keep getting better. He's already a great player, but he is most likely going to get better than he already is, and he's just going to keep going, doing what he's doing, and he could probably get this team into the playoffs and even give them a good run. I mean, they've never won a championship, so it would be history if they could get to the finals and win the championship. But I doubt that'll happen anytime soon. Another, I mean, like, this is just like a random thought, but maybe since they've been trading, I feel like all of, like, I guess you could say, like, the original players that were on the Pacers, like Sabonis, Buddy Hield, all those, like, Malcolm Brogdon, Paul George, like, all those players have left, been traded, stuff like that. So the last player that I would say is an original Pacers player who played with all those players is Miles Turner. So could they end up trading Miles Turner within the next couple of years? And there is a team that I think could really use Miles Turner, and I will definitely discuss that in another episode. But like where I do talk about that team, which is not going to be that episode, or not going to be this episode. But in that episode, I will definitely tell you guys who I think Miles Turner should go to. I mean, he's a solid player. I feel like the Pacers are just not for him. He should definitely go to a new team. And like I said, like, just they should just restart their whole team because, like, all those original players, like I was saying, are all gone, and he's the only player left that is like has he's the only player left that was like part of those original players. And then the final thing that I want to talk about for the Pacers is who they should draft. I think that they should draft a forward, like a power forward. I mean, like, they don't really have any solid power forwards. They have, like, maybe Aaron Nesmith, who is still young, but he's not good. At least not right now. He hasn't been the greatest. So they should definitely try to draft a forward. Our final team is the Cavs, and to start off, you got to talk about one of, if not their best player, and it is Darius Garland. Darius Garland's a phenomenal player. He's still young, just got drafted in 2019, and Darius Garland is the Cavs' future 100%. Unless he leaves in free agency sometime or they trade him for some odd reason, Darius Garland is the Cavs' future. He is one of the future players of the NBA for sure. Darius Garland's a great player. He can shoot the ball pretty solid. I mean, he's quick. I mean, Darius Garland's great. And they definitely did not make a mistake drafting him. And I feel like after they got rid of Colin Sexton, or like that whole season where he was hurt, I feel like Darius Garland just got a lot better and really showed us what he could do. I think that this team could definitely use a small forward in the draft. This is another team that could use a small forward. I feel like there's a lot of teams that could use a small forward, and there is a lot of top, like, small forwards in the draft that are definitely going to go like top 10. So, I mean, they should definitely draft a small forward. I mean, like, they have Karis LeVert, who is solid, but I think that he would be better to come off the bench. And so that's my opinion for, like, as the draft aspect. They should definitely draft a small forward. Could really help out their team a lot. And if they don't draft a small forward, maybe they could grab a small forward in free agency. And one player that I was just thinking of, small forward that's in free agency this year, is, I was talking about him earlier, Chris Middleton. He's in free agency. Could they maybe pick him up, use him as, like, even if they don't use him, like, in their roster, even if they ended up trading him, they could trade him for somebody solid, like a solid small forward. I mean, I wouldn't trade Chris Middleton if I signed him, but, like, Chris Middleton could be a fit for this team. For me, Donovan Mitchell, that Donovan Mitchell trade for me was the best thing that could have happened for the Cavs. The Cavs are solid, but Donovan Mitchell just makes them 10 times better. He's been doing great for the Cavs. I mean, just had a 71 point game this season. So Donovan Mitchell is a phenomenal player for the Cavs, and he's still pretty young too. So he could definitely be another future for the Cavs, like a future great player for the Cavs. and just like Darius Garland, if they can keep that backcourt, stick with it because they are great. And the final thing is their starters are all pretty young, I'd say. I mean, they have players like Darius Garland, they have Evan Mobley, Jarrett Allen is like mid 20s. You got Donovan Mitchell, who's mid 20s, just got drafted in 2017. So, I mean, they have some pretty young players in their starting rotation, and all the young players are solid. I mean, I wouldn't complain about any of the young players that they have in their starting rotation. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, hit the like button and subscribe. And let me know down in the comments who you think any of these teams should draft. Who, like the Cavs, Pacers, Pistons, Bucks, or Bulls should draft. And I'll see you guys next Sunday here on the Hoops and Stuff podcast.